Which states are hearing wedding bells for gay couples, and which states are only hearing domestic partnership chimes? And what about that political marriage everyone's talking about? What you need to know before getting hitched on the idea of a Clinton and Obama ticket. Welcome to Flaming Politics, the political show that's always a bridesmaid and never a bride. I'm Jaffe Grant, and here are the headlines you need to know this week. It's Marriage Palooza 2008 with developments in 5 different states this week. Here's a quick rundown. Maryland. Musing whether a marriage by any other name would smell as sweet, the Old Line state is considering creating a bill that offers many of the rights and privileges of marriage without actually calling it that to same-sex couples. State Senator Jimmy Raskin told the Baltimore Sun, "We're looking at smaller baskets of rights and benefits." In California, the state Supreme Court heard final arguments in a suit brought forth by gay couples who were married in 2004 in San Francisco when the mayor, Gavin Newsom, ordered the city to offer gay and lesbians marriage licenses. At the heart of the debate is a 2000 law that defines marriage as being between a man and a woman. A verdict is expected within 90 days. From the great state of Iowa, House Minority Leader Christopher Rance failed to push through his bill banning gay marriage this week. State Democrats defeated a motion to discuss the bill 50-46. Last year, an Iowa district judge ruled that a 1998 law defining marriage as being between a man and a woman was unconstitutional. Utah. Once again proving that the Beehive State is the second most homophobic state in the union. The state legislature passed a bill last week forcing Salt Lake City to change the name of their domestic partner registry to something else. Anything else, just don't call it a domestic partner registry. Says openly gay Senator Scott McCoy, this bill says you can do it, but don't get too close to calling it equal rights. And last but not least in our whirlwind tour is Washington State. House Bill 3104 extended 170, that's 170 new rights to same-sex couples, and it passed this week in the Senate, and will now go to Governor Chris Gregoire, who is expected to sign it. Which brings us to the big story. Let's play a game of free association. I'm going to say something about a political party, and you're going to tell me which political party you think it is. Okay, here goes. I'm for states' rights. States should be laboratories for trying out new forms of governance. The federal government has no right to interfere in these experiments. Furthermore, the state has no right in interfering in the private rights of the individual. Did you guess Republican? Good for you. Now let's try this one. A right to privacy is well and good, but you can't use it to hide behind acts that are hurtful to society. Did you pick the donkey? If you did, you get a gold star. But now what we're going to do is we're going to add the phrase, as it relates to gay marriage, to those two same statements. Look what happens. They flip. Democrats think states should be free to decide what they want to do, while Republicans want to control or ban gay marriage at the federal level. How did this complete reversal of ideological integrity happen? In 1993, Bill Clinton initiated the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy in the U.S. military. In 1996, Clinton signed the Defense of Marriage Act, which legally defined marriage as being between a man and a woman. He told The Advocate at the time, "I remain opposed to same-sex marriage. I believe marriage is an institution for the union of a man and a woman. This has been my long-standing position, and it is not being reviewed or reconsidered." The convoluted logic offered up at the time was that Clinton was trying to stave off a more serious battle, namely, a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage. However, as we've seen by President Bush's attempts to do that very same thing, there really isn't that much support to create a constitutional amendment that would ban gay marriage. People may not like the idea of gay marriage, but they don't want to enshrine their bigotry into the Constitution. Beyond the thousands of soldiers who were kicked out of the military, and the slew of mini-DOMAs that were passed across the states, including that 98 one we were talking about in Iowa, Clinton's legacy was to force Democrats to work on a state level for gay marriage. DOMA short-circuited any conversation that marriage is a fundamental equal right, at least as far as Congress was concerned. It was basically don't ask, don't tell for Congress, taking the issue off the table for the foreseeable future. Why is any of this relevant now? Well, for those of us old enough to remember when the 2008 election actually began, we'll remember that Hillary Rodham Clinton was vetted by the Human Rights Campaign in a debate where she basically said she is opposed to gay marriage, but for civil unions. Now, a friend of mine at the time said that basically, yeah, she can't say that she's for gay marriage because that's politically unpalatable, but it was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge to say, hey, I'm really on your side. But is she really? Bill Clinton is widely regarded, and weirdly regarded, as one of the most gay-friendly presidents of all time. After all, he did recognize Gay Pride Month, but he's also responsible for the 2 most federally damaging pieces of gay bashing ever to come out of Washington. And Just a reminder, Hillary was a DOMA supporter. Now, I don't think by any stretch of the imagination Hill or Bill are homophobes, but what I do think, and I think what we've seen time and time again, is that they do what's politically palatable. And when their supporters become aghast by their actions and go, "What the hell are you doing?" they do a little wink-wink, nudge-nudge routine and say, "Hey, we're on your side." However, that's not been borne out by their actions. Whether it's working against gay marriage, supporting the war in Iraq, or adopting the mantra of change, we've seen the Clintons are fantastic at figuring out which way the political wind is blowing and trying to get there before everyone else. Which brings us to the idea of a Clinton-Obama ticket. Will these two get hitched so they can cross the altar into the White House? After all, there's so little daylight between them on policy. And indeed, when you cut them across policy, they're basically the same. But when you slice against the grain and look at them in terms of leadership and management, they're actually polar opposites. Hillary's run her campaign by basically making no promises to anybody. On one day she's saying it's a real honor to campaign with Barack. The next day she's saying all that Barack has is a speech that he made in 2002. One day she's saying that momentum doesn't matter. It's really the numbers that count. And now it's the exact opposite. It's a strategy that Republicans use all the time. If you have no ideological rigor, you have no yardstick by which you can be measured, and you can pretty much get away with what you want. That's how you can be against abortion, but for capital punishment, for instance. Barack Obama, on the other hand, is hamstrung by his commitment to run an above-the-board campaign. He can't employ situationalist tactics because his entire campaign is based on the idea that here is the yardstick by which I wish to be measured. And if he fails at that, it'll be blindingly obvious to everybody. These two styles, pragmatic and ideological, just don't mix. You can't be willing to throw the sink at somebody if you're committed to keeping the kitchen together. Which is something we should consider as we enter the 59th week of the campaign. Before we become wedded to one candidate or the other, we should ask ourselves just how seriously we can expect them to keep their vows.